Hi, I'm going to do a video on how to use your webcam, like the webcam you're seeing here, to capture a performance and apply that performance to a MetaHuman in an Unreal Engine. In this case, I'm using Unreal Engine 5.6. Um, the process is relatively straightforward, but we have to install a few plugins and make sure everything's up and running. And there's some content that I'm going to download from the marketplace to make this happen. So um, if you have comments on this process and procedure and can set me straight on what works and what doesn't best for you, please let me know. Let's get going. Launched Unreal Engine 5.6.1 in this case, and we're going to choose the game environment, just a blank environment. Okay, in our game section, what we're going to do is choose the blank environment, and we'll give this a project name, and I'm just going to call this, we're going to call it Webcam Livelink. Okay, and so blank, and then we'll say create. Right, so here we are in the game environment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to load some content into the game. So back in my my content area, my library, I've previously downloaded from the Fab library the Actor Core sample motions. So I'm going to choose to add that to the project. And notice it says no compatible projects. That's all right. We're just going to use our Webcam Live project and choose the most recent applicable version, which is 5.3, and say add to project. Okay, that moves that content into the project. And if we go to the content drawer at the bottom, we can see that that content is indeed loaded in there. All right. So if we go to levels, we see that there's no levels. So we're just going to do file and we're going to do save all. And that should save our level here as we are. The next thing we want to do is get a MetaHuman into our environment. So I'll go to my Quixel Bridge account, and from here we'll load in MetaHuman. Now, if you haven't made your own MetaHuman, you can do this through the MetaHuman standalone app, or in the latest version of Unreal Engine 5.6, you can install and create your own MetaHumans from right within the program. All right, so I'm going to get this gym identity here, and I'm going to use the medium optimized version and just download it into my project. Okay, so it's importing that MetaHuman into my project here. Now notice there's some warnings that say that I need to enable some missing plugins, so we're going to choose that. And again, we'll do some project settings and enable those, and it's going to ask me to restart. So we'll go ahead and restart. So every time you're asked to restart, just go ahead and do that. All right. So let's go to the Edit pull-down menu, go to Plugins, and I'm going to type in Livelink and just go ahead and enable some of these things in here. It looks like a lot of things are already enabled, it looks like. I'm not going to do any of the beta ones, but Livelink is already in there. That looks good. And let's type in MetaHuman and just make sure the MetaHuman animator is turned on, calibration, processing, core tech, and Livelink are all enabled. Now notice there's also a restart now button, so we're going to go ahead and restart. Right, so close the plugin window, and we're going to go to the content drawer and look, and sure enough, in the MetaHumans folder here, we can see that there is a gym identity, and if we open up that folder, we'll see that there is a blueprint actor for my MetaHuman. Now I'm going to go ahead and drag that and drop that into my scene, and we'll put him at 0, 0 in the general settings here, and double click on him, And there you can see our MetaHuman character. I'll slow my camera down, and there we can see our fine young man. All right. So we've got a MetaHuman in our scene. We've got a level. I'm going to go ahead and save all, and it's going to be the untitled level. Save. And the next step is we want to start to enable the Livelink setting for our webcam. So for this, we'll go to the Window pull-down menu and search at the top for Livelink. There we go, Virtual Production Livelink. And in here, we need to add a source for our Livelink. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Add Source and choose the MetaHuman Video option. If these don't show MetaHuman audio and video, if those don't show in this Add Source list, you need to go back and check your plugins to make sure you have the appropriate Livelink and MetaHuman plugins actually installed and your system is restarted. All right, so I'll choose MetaHuman Video here and click on that and choose the video source that I'm using. So in this case, it's my webcam, and it gives a resolution format and frames per second rate. This is set, and I can't change that for my particular webcam. You may see different options here, including different options for frame rates or for resolution. I think the idea is that you want to have as many frames as you can, but the resolution is not quite as important. All right, for the subject name, I'm going to give this a name. So I'll just type in video for the subject name, and then I'm going to click connect. Once that connects, I'll see under the subject name here on the left side, the word video. If I click on that, I can click for the monitor image and choose my input video. And here you can see the video is there and showing up, and I can see that it's not dropping any frames, and I can see the frame rate going. I can also turn on the trackers, and if I zoom in here, you can see the individual trackers that are tracking my face, as you can see what's going on as far as the facial tracking goes in this particular shot. All right, I'll turn off the trackers, and then I do want to scroll down in here and do a couple of things. One is to do what's called capture neutral. So I'm just going to hold still and click the controls capture neutrals. Right, and then I'm going to go down into calibration, and I'll also do capture neutrals for that. And one more under head translation, I'm going to go down and do capture neutrals for that as well. This one will capture the actual swaying of my body as I sway from side to side or front to back. Those motions will be captured as part of the video arrangement. Right. Now this Livelink is in a separate window here. I'm just going to leave that open for now and just go back to my level. And in order to get this to work on my MetaHuman, I need to have my MetaHuman selected and go down into the details for this MetaHuman. Yeah, there it is. Under the MetaHuman BP is the Livelink settings under all, and I'm just going to turn on the check mark for Livelink body. And for the source, I'm going to choose that video source that we chose. Now you can see in my viewport, my MetaHuman is actually speaking. And you can see as I sway, the MetaHuman is moving around based on the capture. So our MetaHuman is working. It's getting its data from the Livelink. And what we're going to do now is save everything. And then we're going to go ahead and find our take recorder. The take recorder is going to allow us to capture a take or a series of data information that we can save and then apply that into a sequence for performing our character within the scene. All right, so at the top, we're going to choose window, and for the search function here, I'm going to type in take, and we'll choose take recorder as the option. Now, in order for the take recorder to work, you see there's a little exclamation mark in the take window here that's red and it has a little triangle with an exclamation mark. That means it's not got any kind of source available. Now, I could click the plus source button and find that video source, but that's not really going to give us the data that we need for the process that I'm showing you today. We could do that and use that video source directly and record a take, and that would create its own sequence, and then we could render that sequence out, which is just fine. But I'm interested in sort of segmenting part of my performance onto the head and having another body performance mixed in within the level sequence. So in order to do that, instead of using that video source, well, again, which is applicable in some cases, I'm going to grab my BP identity here and just drag it in here into my take recorder. Now, if I click on that MetaHuman character there, I can scroll down and I can see that there's recorded properties and there's a sort of a blue dash there. What I want to do is click off so that there's no settings there except for one, and we're going to scroll down and find what that setting is. So I've unchecked all of the recording capabilities for my MetaHuman. I'm going to go down into root and then body, and we're going to get down until we get to the animation track, and then we're going to check that. That's all we want for our check marks for what's going to be recorded is the body animation track. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but the head recording is really based off of that body recording. All right, now one other setting at the top under recording type, we want to choose possessible. So under my BP identity here for selected in my source window, I'm choosing record type possessible. I've unchecked all of the things that I want to record except for body, recorded properties, and animation track. All right, so that means when I click the record take button, which you can see there's no warning symbol there, and the button is ready to record. That means that I can record this information of my character as a take, and it's going to record the animation keys for the body for my MetaHuman. Ready? All right, look, why don't we do this? We'll do File, and we'll save all again. All right, I'm going to click the take recorder. When I do, it's going to give me a 3-second sort of count in, and then I'll start my performance. But I'm going to do a sort of workaround, and we are going to make a recording using an external digital recorder. So I've got an external Zoom recorder that I'm going to use to capture the audio from my take, and we'll transfer that into the computer. So I'll close this sequencer here, and you can see I'm ready. I've got scene 1, take 2 ready to go, and we're going to do a take recording. And this time I'm going to capture the audio on my digital recorder. So I started my digital recorder, audio recorder. I'm going to click the take button, and we're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm a MetaHuman. I'm speaking to you from my computer, and I've been captured on a webcam on this particular laptop, and my audio is being captured by a separate digital recorder. And these sources will be mixed together into a level sequence to be able to render out this performance. Okay, I've stopped my audio recorder, and we see now that we have 2 takes in that window, not just one. I have plugged in my audio digital device, and what I'm doing is I'm configuring it so that I can find the files for it. So if we look in here, here's the stereo file for this device. I'm going to grab this particular file, and we're going to open this in Audacity. If you haven't used Audacity, it's a great audio sort of workspace where you can open files and manipulate them and trim them and add effects and mix other tracks and do all kinds of things like that. So here we can see there's our particular audio recorder. I'm going to click the take button and we're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'll delete the first part of that audio sound and we'll delete the stuff at the end here. And I'm just going to go ahead and say file, export audio, and I'm going to say export to computer. We're going to do it as a WAV file is fine. And I'm going to browse to my project for my Unreal project. So I'm going to go into Documents and Unreal Projects, and we'll go to our Webcam Livelink into the Content folder. And I'm going to make a new folder, and we're going to call it Audio. And I'm going to call this in the audio folder. I'll open that up and we're going to just name this file. We'll call it scene 1 underscore T2. So take 2. Scene 1, take 2. Say save and export. Now back in Unreal, we're going to see a warning, but it'll pop up. And in Unreal, we see this warning that says, hey, do you want to import this change? And we're going to say yes. So we're going to import that change into our Unreal Engine. All right, so let's go into our content drawer at the bottom. We're going to go into our content folder. I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new level sequence. And let's call this ls underscore 01, level sequence 01. And we'll open that up. Here we can see our sequencer. There's nothing in our sequencer at this point. So what we could do is we could drag our MetaHuman into there. And that's going to give us the information for our MetaHuman to start to prep the area for our performance to occur. Again, I'm going to do File, Save, All. The next thing we're going to do is go to our body section of our MetaHuman here and click the plus sign, and I'm going to choose Animation. And what we're going to do is go to BP Identity Scene 102. So it's Scene 1, Take 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. And that should bring the animation for our character into the scene. Now, there's also a control rig in here for both the face and for the body. And I need to disable those control rigs, which is going to allow the performance to flow. If I have an animation and a control rig at the same time, it can cause some sort of infighting between the two. So by disabling the MetaHuman control rig for the body and for the face, it allows this performance to come through. So here, as I scrub the time slider, you can see the performance is there. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to add the audio. So again, let me just do File and Save All. Unreal does love to crash when you're ready to it. So under Add here in the sequencer, I'm going to choose Add an Audio Track. Gives me a warning about using a clock source. I'll just say yes. And under the audio area, I'll click the plus sign, and we'll just find the audio file for our scene, which is started with an S, right? S Scene 1, Take 2, right there. Right, so there's the audio for the scene, and if we hit the play button. Hi, I'm a MetaHuman. I'm speaking to you from my. Okay. Hi. So we've captured that much. And now what we could do is go ahead. I'm going to close the take recorder because we don't need that anymore. And what I'm going to do is just sort of lengthen out the animation here to be long enough. So I'll go to about frame 1000 at the bottom. And I'll drag out here to the end. And what I'll do is I'll set the end mark, the red mark out at the end, and that'll extend my animation to be that long. Right. Next step is to be able to add a camera. So I'm just going to click the little camera icon here, create a new camera. And for that particular camera, What we're going to do is go to the camera settings down in here. We'll change the focal length to be something that's in focus, about like so. And then I'm going to change the camera aperture to be more like 8 or 10 or 12. That gives a greater depth of field for our camera. From my computer, and I've been captured on a webcam on this particular laptop, and my audio is being captured by a separate. Okay, so there's my performance. Again, I'm going to go ahead and do File, Save All. And so what this has done is allowed me to load the performance, which was captured as a series of keyframes, onto the body of my character. I've loaded the audio as well into my level sequence and the camera, set up a camera cut. And so the camera is viewing the performance. So all of this has worked so far, thank goodness. The next step is to load in one of those animations of the character from those canned animations that we had gotten from the marketplace. So under my content drawer, remember there I loaded in these actor core sample motions. I'm going to go to the idle, walk, sit, male motion. And in here, there's a male sit and talk animation. So what I want to do is I want to retarget this animation so that it applies to my MetaHuman. I'll do all the ones that are in this folder at the same time, but here's the process for retargeting an animation so that the MetaHuman can use it. I'll right-click on this animation and go to Retarget Animation. In here, it's set the regular dummy as how it was animated originally, but then I'm going to go under the target skeletal mesh, and I'll choose this one called MTOL NRW body. This is my MetaHuman body. That's going to be the target source. And then I'm going to just select all of these animations in this window and choose Export Animations. Now it's asking for the folder. So I'll put them in this actor core sample motions, but I'm going to give them a prefix. I'll type in MH for MetaHuman _. And then that's going to be my prefix. It's going to put that set of characters before all of these. So I know that these are MetaHuman capable animation files. Now I'll choose Export and just say OK. Right. So what that's done is it's created all these MH files. So we'll close our content browser here, and I'll just do File, Save All again. The next step is to try to get this new animation onto the body of my character. So if I do this, the way I'm going to do it is the same way I did it before. I'm going to click on the body track under animation, and I'm going to search for an animation that I can put on there. So as I scroll through here, when we get to the ones that say MH, we know those are the ones we're interested in. So here's the one called MH Male Sit and Talk. Okay, so I'm going to click on that one, and it's loaded that animation in conjunction with my my capture. Now, if you notice, the MetaHuman seemed to disappear, but if I adjust the camera, you see that he's down there. He's just sitting down. So I'll come down lower with my camera, and you'll see that the character is now sitting down. And as I scroll my time slider, when the talk animation joins in, watch what happens. He sort of jumps up to where he's not in a full sitting position anymore. If we go back to frame -1, you can see the sitting animation. That's what the animation looks like. In fact, I could disable the captured animation here for a moment. And as we scroll through the time slider, we can see the character sitting there lounged back as if he's sitting on a little block or something and talking. But when I mix in our captured animation, you can see that the two adjust in a kind of a weird way, and he's not really sitting anymore. So those two animations are, again, fighting with each other because they share the same body skeleton for their animation. So the talking animation assumes that the character's standing up, so the spine has a certain elevation off of the ground, and the rest of the skeleton that it's part of the head animation is the spine bones, the neck bones, and the head bones. Those are all part of the capture that we did. All of those bones are assuming a standing position. When we mix it in with our sitting animation, the two are fighting over the position of where that spine should be, and it's compromising in between. We can see this in performance if I were to go into my animation and adjust the weight of either of these animations. So if I adjust the weight value of the capture that we did from 1 to something less, we can see the character goes to that sitting position, right? So you might think, well, I'll just adjust the weight down of that animation. And what it's going to do is get him to sit back down again. But the problem with adjusting the weight down is it's also going to adjust down the strength of all of the capture. So any of the facial motions and things like that will get diminished because of the weight reduction. So we don't really want to do that either. We want to find a way to divide the body using a particular bone so that everything above a certain bone would be the captured animation, and everything below that bone would be the body animation. All right, so again, I'm going to file and save, and we're going to go ahead and look at how we can do a mixture between those two bones using the functionality of a animation blueprint. And so the animation blueprint allows us to set up a particular division by bone. So here's how we're going to do that. We'll go to the content drawer, and I'm going to just go back to my root content folder, and I will click add, and I'm going to do a animation blueprint. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do the MetaHuman base skeleton as our animation blueprint. So I'll click create. It's going to give me a naming convention. So I'm going to just call this BP underscore anim MH01. All right. And then I'm going to open that blueprint. And what this animation has is a default pose associated with it. And that's all that's in there. If I look in this little preview window, I can see the boots of the default animation. I don't see the skeleton, so I can use the little eye setting here, and I can go to bones, and I can say, let me see the bone names and all hierarchy. All right, and so what that's going to do is display the whole character for this particular body, and we can see all the bones associated with it. And what I'm interested in up here is the neck bone of the character. So we can see right in here, the window for that is, it says neck underscore 01. So that's the bone I'm sort of interested in on this particular skeleton. All right, so we're going to create a couple of other things in this window and connect them all together in order to determine that how we decide what animation will apply to our character. So I'm going to right-click in this window and type in default slot. All right, so using the default slot default has two settings that are predetermined in there, a face slot and a default slot. Those are two particular slot names that are in there under settings. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this one and paste it. And then on the second one, I'm going to choose the other default slot. So the top one is the default slot, and the bottom one is the face slot. Okay, and that's all that defines them right now is the name. But for the default slot here, what I want to do is connect them both somehow to this output pose. I need something that can mix these things together and then define the bone within that mixing device. And this thing is called a layered blend per bone node. So I'll right click in here and type in layered blend per bone. Okay. And what this is going to do is allow me to then plug in the base pose and this other pose and connect them to the output pose. Okay, so that connects all of those together. And then if I select this thing in the middle, this is where I can define where the bone is going to be specified. So under the layer setup, it says one array element, and it says index 0, one member, and branch filters, and it just says 0 elements. So there's nothing in there. So I'm going to click the add element button. And then under the index here, it says bone name. And here's where we're going to refer to our bone name over here. And it was called neck underscore 01. So that's where I'm going to type in it over here, NECK underscore 01, and hit enter. All right. So what this means is that anything below the neck is going to be driven by one particular animation that's plugged or defined by the default slot. And then anything that's got a face slot animation will be driving anything from the neck up. So now I'm going to compile this and save this blueprint. And if we have to, I'm just going to scoot it over here and we'll just keep it running onto the side. So that's a separate tab there. All right, now I'm going to do File and Save All again. Now at this point, our MetaHuman is not being driven by that blueprint we just made at this point. So if I come into my outliner on the side here and go to Details, our particular character is just being driven by its default settings. So we do have the Livelink turned on, and then we have, if I scroll down into the body section of the details down here, we'll see that the animation blueprint is using the Livelink instance right now. Okay, and that's not necessarily what we want it to do. We want it to use that blueprint that we just specified. So I'll go back up to the identity here, the root. I'm going to turn off the Livelink body. Okay. I'm going to save my file again, save all. And then we're going to go into the body section. Okay, so for animation mode here, for our body animation mode, instead of use custom mode, we're going to choose use animation blueprint. And this is where we're going to specify the blueprint that we created for our character. Let me close the sequencer window here. This is where I saved everything. And notice my MetaHuman sort of breaks over here. So for animation class, what I'm going to do is choose my BP animation MetaHuman 01 as my animation class. And you can see my MetaHuman is fixed again. Okay, so I've turned off the Livelink off of my MetaHuman and turned on the body, use animation blueprint and animation class, and I picked the blueprint we just created, this one here. So my MetaHuman is now using that concept that it can have two different performances for different parts of its body. So let's go back to our level sequence that we created, LS01, and open that up. And currently, we still see the same condition where the fighting is going on between the two animation parts of the character. That's because we haven't specified which of these animations is affecting which of those slots, right? So if we look at the sit animation, I can right-click on this little animation here and go to Properties, and we can see if we go into playback, we can see that the default slot is named as the slot type, default slot. Okay. Again, I right-click on this little track, go to Properties, go into Playback, and I can see that that slot name is default slot. All right, I'll do the same here for my face animation, and this one I will right-click, go to Properties, go to Playback, and instead of default slot, we're going to type the other name in here, which is why I left that other tab open, because I can never remember what that name is called. So I'm going to click on this tab, and we're going to see that this is called face slot. That's the name of this one here, face slot. Okay, so back in here, right-click, Properties, Playback. We're going to type in face slot where it says default slot. No space between those words. Hit enter when you're done. And now we can see that our MetaHuman has changed in the sequencer. He's sitting down fully. I'm going to do File, Save As, Save All, I mean. And now he's sitting down completely. And let's see if there's animation on there.
I'm a MetaHuman speaking to you. I am
good. Yeah. So he's actually now sitting fully and relaxed. And if we look at in the animation, we can see that he's
speaking to the computer, and I've been on a webcam.
Got the full face animation in there as well. All right. So File, Save All. Make sure that we can see our camera. Now notice if I choose the camera cut here, that it's pulling my cinematic camera based on the transforms that I had specified down in here. So location and rotation. This is what it's going to capture, is this little, so when I turn on this little blue icon here, that's what actually is going to render. So we want to make sure that our camera is set up properly. So I would use these transforms here to sort of move around. You see his head sort of whipping around there. And I'm going to go ahead and move my camera around to where I can get the camera where I want it. And let's move in a little bit. Okay. So now my character's sitting. I'm going to just double check the focus again, make sure the focus is good. And then this is how we can render our scene. So again, I'm going to do File, Save All. And this is what it will actually
I'm
render.
Speaking from computer and counting a webcam to this particular laptop.
All right. We've got our length of our animation set in here based on our red and green markers. I'm going to just check my rendering. We want to choose the scene capture legacy here. I'll go into my capture settings. Want to make sure what my resolution is going to be captured as. So I'll choose 1920 by 1080. For my audio, I'm going to go ahead and choose the audio master submix. That's going to grab my video sequence and the audio sequence and save them both out at the same time. I'll specify the output folder here. So this is just going into my context folder. That's okay. You can specify anywhere on your hard drive where you want to make the renderings get saved. And then under animation at the bottom, I just want to do a little warm-up frame count. Let's say 30 frames of warm-up and 1 second delay before warm-up. Again, File, Save All, and then I'm going to just capture my movie. Okay, so once we've done our capture, we can click the Open Capture folder, and we'll see that there's 2 files that have been saved, an audio file and a video file. Now, the reason why there's 4 in my particular folder is because my system crashed in the middle of rendering, which is why I keep doing a Save All to make sure that everything is saved as I'm going through the process, because crashes do happen. So once I reopened the program and reloaded the file, everything was ready to render again. So now what I'm going to do is open up my DaVinci video editing software. I'm going to combine the audio and video files together and then render that out again, and we'll have our finished animation ready to show. DaVinci Resolve is a free video editing software. If you are not familiar with it, it's quite capable and is a joy to use. And I'm really grateful for Blackmagic to make that available to us. So I'm going to create a new project here, and I'll just call this Webcam Livelink 1 and create. I'll go to the editing window here, and I'm going to go ahead and drag in those files that we see. So it's untitled, this one, and this one should work. So that's the WAV file and the AVI. And it has to change the frame rate from its default. I'll just say yes. Now I'll drag those two elements into my timeline. So here's my video, and here's my audio. Drag those in here. If I hit play.
Hi, I'm a MetaHuman. I'm speaking to you from my computer, and I've been captured on a webcam on this particular laptop.
Okay, not bad. It's a little out of focus. I'd probably want to go back and change check my camera settings, but I'm happy with it for this tutorial, believe me, at this point. So now I'll just go here to my render window for DaVinci Resolve. What I'm going to do is browse to my location for where I want to save this. And then what I'm going to do is I'll change the format type to MP4. 264 is the codec, and I'll just call this Webcam Livelink 1. Okay. Add it to render queue and then render all, and then very quickly it just combines those two things together and finishes my project. So I hope you found it to be exciting and entertaining, or at least interesting. Please leave comments in the area below if you find that you have a much better way of doing any of this. I'm not a professional by any means. I'm just somebody who uses MetaHuman to create characters to tell stories. So thank you for being with me today, and have a great day.
Hi, I'm a MetaHuman. I'm speaking to you from my computer, and I've been captured on a webcam on this particular laptop, and my audio is being captured by a separate digital recorder. And these sources will be mixed together into a level sequence to be able to render out this performance.